See, what's really funny to me is that Chuck Schumer kept the government shut down because he didn't want everyone in his party to hate him. He didn't want to get primaried by AOC, and he didn't want to lose his job as minority leader. And now that the shutdown's over, more people hate him. He's more likely to get primaried by AOC, and he's definitely going to lose his job as minority leader because, I mean, that's pretty much, there's not a single Democrat in the party who is excited by what happened with this shutdown. The Democrats have lost. They lost bigly. They got destroyed because Chuck Schumer, their weak leader, led them weakly. Chuck Schumer originally kicked off this shutdown, and we know now that it was all Chuck Schumer's doing. It was all Chuck Schumer's shutdown. He's the one that started it. And now that it's over, or now that it's coming to an end with this vote yesterday,
the ayes are 60, the nays are 40. The bill as amended is passed.
Yeah.
Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table.
Yeah, make it and lay it. That's what I make it. Make that motion and lay it on the table. That's exactly what I say. It's my motto. But anyway, Chuck Schumer, look, he started this shutdown. He didn't want it to go on. He wasn't the kind of guy he's not a shutdown guy. He's kind of a shut up guy. And so Chuck Schumer was like, all right, let's see what we can do. But he quickly realized that AOC and Bernie Sanders controlled the party and they were going to come for him. And that if he opened up the government, if he did not shut down the federal government no matter what, and force people to stay home and not get paid, and force these FAA workers and these TSA workers and these air traffic controllers to not get paid, and our military on Veterans Day, our military men and women finally going to see some of the pay that they've been earning by protecting our homeland. But Chuck Schumer, he was doing his best to try to avoid any kind of confrontation in his own party. And now that it's over, man, everybody hates him. People that never even thought about hating him now hate him. It's really kind of interesting to see. What's up? This is Mark K. Saves the Republic, BT Dubs. Sorry, Keith. And thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Set the notifications. Get ready to get notified whenever we go live, which is often. You want to make sure that you get notified by YouTube or Rumble or whatever you're listening to. If you're listening to the podcast, man, we really appreciate that. And make sure you're subscribed to the podcast because you want to make sure you get all this. You know, a lot of people are fleeing some of the more popular podcasts. Tucker Carlson, I hear, is losing some numbers. Ben Shapiro, I hear, is losing some numbers. Candace Owens, well, she's more popular than ever. Let's be honest. I call it like I see it. Candace Owens has like the #1 podcast in the world based on all the stuff she's been saying. But, you know, if you're looking for something good, if you're looking for an alternative, this is the place to be, because here we only speak the truth every single day for at least an hour, sometimes more. At least it's like an hour's worth of truth, sometimes more. And like I said, we post crap all the time. You're gonna want to tune in and listen to it. But it is Veterans Day, and President Donald Trump was at Arlington National Cemetery laying down a wreath and saying some words about our brave fighting men and women.
From the very beginning of our country, our great American flag has always been shielded and protected by a special cast of citizens who has stepped forward to safeguard liberty's cause. When danger came, when duty called, when Almighty God asked, who had the will and the strength to defend the land of the free, each and every American veteran stood up and said, "Here I am, send me, here I am." They've come from every corner of this nation, from the cornfields of Iowa to the hills and valleys of California, from the steel towns of Pennsylvania to the vast plains of Texas, from the banks of the mighty Mississippi to the 5 boroughs of New York City. With selfless commitment and unyielding conviction, they made themselves America's ramparts and became the shield between our homeland and those who would do us harm. With everything they had, they did one thing above all else. They put America first.
They traded sneakers for combat boots. They traded soft hugs for hard salutes. They missed first steps and birthdays too, so the light of freedom could shine for me and you. They fought in the Army to protect this land. They fought in the Marine Corps on sea and sand. They sailed in the Navy through thunder and gray and served in the Air Force where the Eagles play. And the Coast Guard, steady, don't you forget, they keep our homeland's promises met. We know freedom's not free, it's paid in sweat. It's paid in blood and tears still wet. It's carved in stone, it's whispered in prayer. It's the reason Old Glory still waves up there. So when you barbecue, when you watch the games, when you cheer your team, remember their names. The reason we can shout and laugh and pray today is because they paid a price we could never repay. The least we could do is stand up and say, thank you for your service today and every day.
To every veteran, we love our veterans. We say the words too often left unsaid. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's something we want to express to all of the veterans out there who are still. I guess if you're still serving, are you a veteran? Probably not. If you're still serving, you're not a veteran. But if you are a veteran, thank you so much for your service, as President Donald Trump pointed out. If you're a Democrat, oops. If you're a Democrat, here's the thing: we have a need for a new party in this country. We've got, for example, the Republicans who are fighting for freedom wherever there's trouble, like G.I. Joe. We've got the Republican Party who is fighting for your conservative, your conservative values, your Christian ideals. They're protecting the Constitution. They're making sure that you can survive in this country on your own free will and that you can enjoy your life, your liberty, and that pursuit of happiness that was promised to you by God and the Founding Fathers. And as a result, they won out in the end, thanks to President Donald Trump. But then you've got people who are just plain evil. And look, we don't like to call names. Donald Trump said that there are some good Democrats. He was on with Laura Ingraham and he talked about Chuck Schumer and he talked about how Chuck Schumer tried to stand up to the Democrats and he lost. And then he went into a litany of other, Democrats who suffer from Trump derangement syndrome.
He thought he could break the Republicans and the Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or they're just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics. But, we have just great policy. We have good people. They have some good people, too. I know a lot of Democrats. They're not all crazy. They're not all. But you have some that are absolutely terrible. I look at this Crockett. This is a very low IQ person. And I look at somebody that comes from Somalia where they don't have anything. They don't have police. They don't have military. They don't have anything. All they have is crime. And she comes in and tells us how to run our country. The Constitution says this, the Constitution. The whole thing is crazy. I feel badly because I've known Chuck Schumer. I knew him when he was a person who loved Israel, and now he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian. And it's amazing. I've never seen a politician change so much. Also, he doesn't have, he was a pretty talented guy. He's lost his talent.
What else? What else is he? You know what? He used to love Israel. Now he loves Palestine. He's not very effective. He's got Trump derangement system. Also, he lost all his talent. And also he's lost his hair and he can't cook a burger and he's stupid. What else can we do? Let's just throw everything on Chuck Schumer. But he's also evil. That's the thing we're learning. We're also evil. He's also evil. On Fox News, Kayleigh McEnany, former White House press secretary and now, Fox News host Kayleigh McEnany, she let loose with some information about Chuck Schumer and this shutdown about 2 weeks in. Listen to this. This is something that this is some new information that's come to light.
A group of moderates came to Chuck Schumer 2 weeks into the shutdown, 2 weeks in, and said, we're ready to reopen the government. And he said, no, hold out. Wow. No, hold out. Mid-October, he said to his entire caucus that if anyone tried to reopen the government, he would stand against them. That's according to sources that told Axios. So shame on Chuck Schumer. I know he's gotten the rap as the moderate, being beholden to the far left. No, he caused the pain. He pushed the pain through, along with Hakeem Jeffries. And it's quite sad to see the radical left take over that.
Look at that. So for 2 weeks, a bunch of moderate Democrats came in 2 weeks at 14 days in and said, you know what, we're ready. We're ready to open up the government. This shutdown's not really doing us any good. And Chuck Schumer said no. And here's the thing about Chuck Schumer. He didn't say no because he thought it was the right thing to do. He didn't say no because he thought in the end they'd be able to leverage it to get Obamacare subsidies. He didn't say no because he thought, this is the only way to help our illegal alien friends get the health care they so rightly deserve. No, he said no because he was afraid he was going to get canned. He was afraid he was going to lose his leadership position. He was afraid he was going to lose his Senate seat. He was afraid that AOC and Bernie Sanders would come in and primary him. He was afraid. He was fighting for himself, not his constituents, not the Democrats from New York, not the people that put him in power, not the Americans who voted for him. He was fighting for Chuck Schumer. He was fighting for his own political life. And as a result, he failed miserably because you need something more. You need something more to stand up for. There's a bunch of people out there now coming forward with this kind of information saying that Chuck Schumer is the weak, because you have to keep in mind in this vote that we just watched. I mean, listen to the vote again. Here's the vote.
The ayes are 60, the nays are 40. The bill as amended is passed.
Okay.
Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table.
Yeah, so it's made and laid. So we've got 60 votes. 60 votes to open up the government. We know that, we know that Rand Paul voted against. So that's 8. That's 8 Democrats and Angus King, who's technically an independent, who crossed the aisle. Angus King, what's her name, from Nevada, John Fetterman, and then, a bunch of others, Tim Kaine, and a bunch of, we'll go through the list here in just a minute. But there's 8 of them that said enough is enough. We're going to cut a deal. We're going to cross the aisle and we're going to open up the government. And now the Democrats are furious at them, but you know who they're even more angry at? Is Chuck Schumer. They hate Chuck Schumer and they're blaming Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer is still trying to blame President Donald Trump.
For months and months, Democrats have been fighting to get the Senate to address the health care crisis. This bill does nothing to ensure that crisis is addressed. I am voting no, and I will keep fighting.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we don't want. It's not a crisis, by the way, so we're not gonna address it. He went on the Senate floor and called Donald Trump cruel.
Donald Trump's cruelty. He shut the government down longer than any president in American history. Took innocent kids, veterans, federal workers as hostages, political hostages, all because he refuses to do anything to fix the health care crisis, and instead keeps pushing policies that will cut people's coverage even more.
That's not at all true, but that's okay. He's fighting for his political life at this point, and he's losing everything. His EKG is flatline. He's like, boo. That's his political EKG. It's about the straightest line I've ever seen in my entire. You could lay it down on the ground and have drunks try to walk it during a traffic stop. That's how flat the EKG for Chuck Schumer's the political lifeline is. But everybody, Ro Khanna is calling for him to be replaced. And Hakeem Jeffries, who stood by him like an idiot the entire time, is having to answer for it.
The Senate Democratic Minority Leader Chuck Schumer voted against the deal last night, but he's being severely criticized for not having enough control over his caucus to stop those 8 from defecting. Your colleague, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California, says the time has come for a change. Listen to this.
He's the leader of the Senate. This deal would never have happened if he had not blessed it. It's time for him to be replaced. He is not meeting the moment. He's out of touch with where the party's base is.
What do you think, Leader Jeffries? Do you agree with Ro Khanna? Do you think Schumer should be replaced?
Leader Schumer did not bless this agreement. He voted against it. And of course, Senate Democrats who voted no have made that clear. And what we've seen from Senate Democrats over the last 7 weeks has been part of a valiant fight that we have waged together to stand up in defense of the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people. And we know Senate Democrats voted down the partisan Republican spending bill that gutted the health care of the American people 15 or 16 different times. And listen, it's unfortunate that you had 8 or so Democrats, 7 Democrats who made the decision to vote in a different way than the overwhelming majority of the Senate Democratic caucus, and what you'll see from the overwhelming majority of House Democrats when the bill comes over to us. But they're going to have to explain themselves. This fight continues. And over the last several weeks, we have successfully elevated this health care issue such that the American people are demanding action. And now it's going to be on Mike Johnson and House Republicans to demonstrate. Are they willing to actually do something for someone other than the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected? And there's an opportunity to do it by making sure that the Affordable Care Act tax credits are extended. Every single Democrat stands behind that proposition in the House. Let's see what the Republicans decide to do tomorrow.
Well, we know what they're going to do. They already voted to pass the continuing resolution once. I imagine here's what's going to happen. Every Republicans are going to vote to pass the continuing resolution and open up the government again, with the exception of Thomas Massie. Pretty sure that's what's going to happen, but that's okay because we have the one vote to lose in the House of Representatives on the Republican side, and then this will head to President Donald Trump's desk and the government will be reopened. And the Democrats will be left a steaming pile of dung trying to figure out who their identity, what their identity is, what they stand for, and of course, who leads them. Because nobody really knows at this point. Nobody really knows at this point. There's 8 senators, like we said, on the Democrat side who voted with the Republicans. One of them is Gene Shanine from New Hampshire. Another one is Dick Durbin. Dick Durbin from Illinois. He's the one you may remember that Pam Bondi handed it to the other day. Then you got Tim Kaine from Virginia. You may remember him from being on the losing ticket with Hillary Clinton. You've got who else? Oh, Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire. She's on her way out, though, I'm pretty sure she's retiring, so she's like, whatever. But she said, I want to, after weeks of bipartisan conversations, I voted today to reopen the government so that we can get back to the work of helping Granite Staters. Then you've got Angus King, who I said before is an independent, but caucuses with the Democrats, and he's from Maine, and he kind of looks like he's from Maine too. Jackie Rosen from Nevada. She's the other one. She's been voting the whole time. She's been voting. I'm sorry. She's not been voting, but Catherine Cortez Masto has been, and now the other one jumped in. And then John Fetterman, or Fetterwoman, depending on what you want to say. That's it. Those are the great 8 of the Democrat Party, the ones who realize, you know what, we should probably open up the government because we're not going to get our way, and Chuck Schumer is a horrible leader. Now, there's a lot of Democrats who are mad, as you can tell by this offensive headline from Mediaite. Oh, F off. Democrats rage as pathetic shutdown betrayal in mass backlash. So basically they're saying chuck off. And this is just a collection. This is a collection of all the hatred and vitriol that the Democrats are spewing at their war-torn leader, at their ineffective leadership, at Chuck Schumer. 8 members of the Democrat caucus who backed a late-night deal aimed at reopening the government and ending the 40-day shutdown have ignited backlash from inside their own coalition, with critics slamming the move as a pathetic surrender. AOC wrote on X, the average monthly SNAP benefit is $177 a person. The average ACA benefit is up to $550 a person. People want us to hold the line for a reason. This is not a matter of appealing to a base. It's about people's lives. Working people want leaders whose word means something. Chris Murphy from Connecticut. I got back to my office after the vote tonight and recorded this. There's no way to sugarcoat what happened tonight, and my fear is that Trump gets stronger, not weaker, because of this acquiescence. I'm angry like you, but I choose to keep fighting. I'm not going to play his message because don't nobody care. James Tallarico. This moment demands fighters, not folders. Official statement from James Tallarico on shutdown negotiations. Any deal that kicks 1.7 million Texans off their health insurance isn't compromise, it's surrender. Gavin Newsom, who's now openly campaigning in Texas, just wrote, pathetic. J.B. Pritzker, this is not a deal, it's an empty promise. I mean, if anyone knows about empty promises, it's him. Trump and his Republican Congress are making healthcare more expensive for the middle class and ending it for working families. Time for Democrats to stand tall for affordable healthcare. Ro Khanna. Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? It goes on and on and on and on and on. Harry Sisson, absolutely pathetic. Again, pot calling the kettle black. I cannot believe we caved to this wannabe dictator and his goons. Thanks to the Democrats who voted no. We'll remember who bent the knee. And then Tim Kaine. We should probably read this. This is Tim Kaine's statement on why he voted to refund the government and open it up. Tim Kaine wrote, I have long said to earn my vote, we need to be on a path toward fixing Republicans' healthcare mess and to protect the federal workforce. Now, fun fact, the Democrats created this healthcare mess because it's Obamacare, not Republicare. This deal guarantees a vote to extend Affordable Care Act premium tax credits, which Republicans weren't willing to do. Lawmakers know their constituents expect them to vote for it, and if they don't, they could very well be replaced at the ballot box by someone who will. This legislation will protect federal workers from baseless firings, reinstate those who have been wrongfully terminated during the shutdown, and ensure federal workers receive back pay as required by a law I got passed in 2019, blah, 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 blah. So basically what's happening is they've now gotten John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, to agree to a vote on the affordable health care subsidies. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to pass. That vote could go down in flames, but they agreed to a vote. And that's all they really, really, really wanted. They wanted the vote. They wanted these things extended. And so they said, fine, get us the vote. And now we'll take it from there. Now, again, like I said, this vote could fail miserably and they could not get what they want, but they at least got the vote. And now the government's reopened, which is why, I'll be honest with you, so many people are furious. You know who's really mad? The ladies on The View. They're so mad. They're like madder than mad.
The biggest sticking point in the longest U.S. government shutdown has been Democrats demanding that Republicans negotiate to extend health care subsidies that are about to expire. But last night, 8 Senate Democrats threw in the towel by siding with the GOP to advance a vote that could lead to the government reopening. And
by the way, she reads the teleprompter great, doesn't she? You can tell that's not, people are like, well, I was listening to this going, wait a minute, Whoopi Goldberg knows it. No, she's just reading the teleprompter, but she reads it really well.
Tried to explain themselves to their unhappy colleagues. Take a look.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
This agreement tonight is a win for the American people. There was zero chance of dealing with the ACA issue as long as the shutdown continued. Now, I don't know, 50-50, but there's a lot better chance now than there was this morning.
This was a very, very bad vote. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted, but tonight, that is not what happened.
Okay, and that's a good point that Bernie Sanders brings up. It's a good point. Bernie Sanders says the American people after the vote, because remember the vote. Remember, it was Tuesday. Tuesday night in New York City, Zoran Mamdani became the mayor. Tuesday night in Virginia, Abigail Spanberger became the governor. More surprisingly, Jay Jones, who wanted to see his opponent and his young children killed brutally to make political points, that guy is now the attorney general. And in New Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli lost to what's her name, who's the Democrats won that race as well. So on Tuesday, the Democrats were like emboldened, and they woke up Wednesday going, we'll never surrender. The American people are sending us a message. They want us to stand up to Trumpism. And that was Tuesday. And then let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like 5 days later, these Democrats were like, you know what? They don't want us to stand up to Trumpism. They don't want that at all. They want us to reopen the government. But here's where it gets really heated on The View.
So, I mean, you know, a 50-50 chance of negotiating health care subsidies. I just remember all of the people who are coming in and hoping that people would vote them in and say, yes, you can be this person, or you can be a judge, or you can be this. And they all said, no, we're not going to mess with anything. No, we're going to leave everything as it was.
By the way, I have no idea I literally no clue what she's talking about here, but we will suffer through this before. She's good at reading the teleprompter. She's not good at speaking extemporaneously, which is probably why they put her on a teleprompter.
No faith that they're going to negotiate and come back to the table. And you know, I'm glad that folks, maybe, because again, we have seen, you say this is going to happen and then it doesn't happen.
Right.
So surprise me and show me that this is really, that people are going to get their money, that people are going to get the money that they are entitled to. It's not a gift.
Right.
They're entitled to this money during when there's a shutdown. You're entitled to that money.
Yeah.
So
There's
this idea that they're giving in and giving this as a gift, it's not a gift. You know, I don't understand. So is he right that Americans wanted Democrats to keep fighting? You know, this would, and you know.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I have no. Let's go. We're just skipping
I don't
ahead.
think anyone wins in a government shutdown, and I welcome this deal. And let me tell you why. So the fight over extending the Obamacare subsidies is about addressing 22 million Americans who are going to see their health care premiums skyrocket. I believe that's important. I'm with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm with Mike Lawler and a number of Republicans who believe we have to extend those for at least a year. However, in the interim, while the government remains shut down, 42 million people are losing SNAP benefits ahead of the holidays. So to me, we've got to hold out for those 22 million whose premiums are going to go up, but deny these people SNAP benefits in the meantime. That math doesn't math for me. I think adults need to get to the table and need to be willing to negotiate. And here's the other factor that wasn't mentioned here. Donald Trump has been pushing Leader Thune to nuke the filibuster, which would allow Republicans to reopen the government without needing a single Democratic vote to do so.
Yeah, I
Leader Thune didn't do that. He actually worked with a number of Democrats to come to this conclusion, which does get Dems some win, reversing those layoffs, as you mentioned, extending SNAP and WIC benefits through the end of 2026, also ensuring that the military and Veterans Affairs get paid, and guaranteeing this vote on Obamacare subsidies, which we'll see. But that is a much better deal than what could have happened if it was not reopened. And finally, Democrats are going to look like losers if they're just attacking each other in this. For some reason, Marjorie Taylor Greene was better at messaging the stakes of this shutdown, it feels like, than a lot of Democrats were. You have to give people the benefits they are entitled to under SNAP. You have to address the underlying issues of the crisis of healthcare in this country, but get government back working. No one can get anywhere. Flights aren't flying. The holidays are coming.
Yeah.
This is a welcome decision in my mind.
Okay.
Look,
Before we get to Sunny Hostin, who has some hostility toward this, I want to point out a couple things. I'm a little bummed that the filibuster is still in place. Ain't gonna lie. I was blow the filibuster to smithereens. And I think what's interesting is that, that had to have played a part, right? You had to have seen because the threat of the filibuster was not a threat so much to Democrats as it was to Republicans. President Donald Trump made it very well known repeatedly for days that he wanted to get rid of the filibuster. President Donald Trump made it very well known for days that the filibuster was inadequate, it was antiquated, it did not help the Republicans, and that the Democrats one day were going to use the destruction of said filibuster to their advantage. So why not beat him to the punch? And that threatened John Thune. That threatened Republicans. They didn't like that Donald Trump was speaking up against the filibuster, and they know that Donald Trump, once he sinks his teeth into something, he doesn't let it go. You know, once he's got a hold of your leg, he's going to follow through, so to speak. So John Thune, I think, was eager to come to some kind of resolution, and that's why he worked through the weekend. He did not gavel the Senate out of session. He said, we're going to work through the weekend until we get this done. That's why I think he got together with Democrats and said, look, what can we do? Let's get a vote, whatever. Donald Trump was pushing both sides. He flat out told the Democrats, we are not going to back down. And he told the Republicans, you need to nuke the filibuster. So everybody was feeling pressure from President Donald Trump. And that is something, in fact, that is something somebody said that here. Where was it? It was, here it was. Was it John Barrasso? I believe it was John. No, who was it? Here it is.
Ned, your biggest takeaway.
Oh, it's Ned from, sorry, it's Ned from Fox News. Ned was on Fox News with Laura Ingraham. Here's what Ned said.
Ned, your biggest takeaway from tonight.
Two things. One, it was Trump that instilled the backbone into Republicans and did not let them cave. Again, we all know this was about two things: Schumer's terrible poll numbers, trying to avoid a challenge by AOC, and also the fact that Democrats were once again trying to launder American taxpayer dollars with $1.5 trillion in health care for illegals to empower themselves, keep them around, get them counted in the census, and also hopefully eventually try to figure out how to become voting members for Democrats. The other thing was the affordability issue. I thought that was a really good question. And you asked, is it voter perception or is there more to do? And I think it's both, Laura. I think the Trump economy is really starting to ramp up. GDP might be 4% in the fourth quarter. Inflation 2.7 to 2.9. Trump's increasing 1 million barrels of oil a day. So it's going to drive down energy costs, which drives down grocery prices, which also drives down product prices. But I think they need to do more. I think there's more to be done by Republicans and Trump. First of all, they have to compare it to the Biden economy. but also more deregulation, more tax cuts, a lot of things. So I think it's both. So I was really fascinated by that topic.
Yeah, so there you go. So Ned says it was Donald Trump that gave the Republicans the backbone. Donald Trump's the one that stood up and said, we're not backing down, right? We're not going to do it. So Chuck Schumer on one side is saying we're not backing down. Donald Trump on the other side is saying we're not either. But look at what happened. Chuck Schumer lost control of his entire party. Donald Trump did not. And that is something to be said. Let's finish. I want to play you what Sonny Hostin said here because I may have to fast forward.
The biggest sticking.
Yeah, here we go. Here was Sonny Hostin's response to the government reopening. Listen to how mad she is.
Let's be clear. The Republicans run the House. The Republicans run the Senate. The Republicans run the White House. The Republicans run the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned. This was a choice by Republicans to cut SNAP benefits. This was a choice by Republicans to cut ACA subsidies. This was a choice by the Republicans to gut the federal government and federal employment. Democrats had nothing to do with it. I want an opposition party. I think the Democrats caved. I think the Democrats let down the American people. And like you, Whoopi, I have absolutely no faith that the Republican Party will come to the negotiating table in good faith. You know, you do something like this, shame on you the first time. You do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, shame on me. Shame on the Democrats for even believing that the Republicans will, even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying we do want the opposition. We the working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go. He needs to be replaced.
I completely disagree with you, Sonny, for this reason, what you rattled off.
Okay. Anyway, we don't care about her. We just care about Sonny. So basically what she's saying is, look, it's the Republicans' choice to cut SNAP benefits, which is weird because the Republicans voted 15 times to not cut SNAP benefits. In fact, every Republican, with the exception of Rand Paul, repeated over and over again almost 20 times to keep SNAP funded. They voted to keep SNAP funded. They voted to keep WIC funded. They voted to keep the military funded. They voted to keep air traffic controllers funded. They just voted to fund everything. They didn't want the government ever shut down. It was the Democrats who voted over and over again. And then they accused the Republicans of saying, you don't want to fund SNAP. They went to get court orders to get the Republicans to fund SNAP while Republicans were voting to fund SNAP over and over again. And Democrats were saying no. It was really, really, really bizarre. There was an interesting take from Morning Joe as to why, because, now everyone's doing the Monday morning quarterback thing. Why is Chuck Schumer so weak? Why is Chuck Schumer so bad? Whose fault is it? Chuck Schumer 2 weeks ago, Kayleigh McEnany tells us, had a bunch of moderates come to him and say, let's end this. And he said, no, we're not going to end it. And anyone who goes against me, you will feel my wrath, which, by the way, the wrath of Chuck Schumer, I don't think anyone needs to worry about it anymore. But here was Morning Joe on MSNBC's take on this whole thing.
The Democrats is they took crime off the front page of every newspaper. That was the story, and they turned it into health care.
Yeah, so that was the big thing. He's saying, look, we took crime off the front. It was crime everywhere. It was crime in Portland. It was crime in Chicago. It was crime in New York. It was crime in Seattle. Crime. Memphis, Tennessee, everywhere you turned, there were stories about crime and about drugs and about gangs and about violence. And Donald Trump was working with the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security and the National Guard to fight crime. And he was sending troops here and sending troops there, and ICE was everywhere, and we were deporting people. And all you saw over and over again were Democrat-run cities that were poorly run and overtaken by criminals. You saw J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, who repeatedly, over and over again, would talk about how, Chicago's fine, Illinois is fine, we don't need Donald Trump. Meanwhile, there's like 182 murders every 5 minutes in Chicago. Gavin Newsom talking about how you better not come to California because we don't need you. Meanwhile, you've got crackheads and you've got drug addicts and you've got all kinds of people wandering the streets and gang violence moving into the ritzy Hollywood suburbs. It's ridiculous. New York City, people fleeing now because of Zohran Mamdani, who wants to defund the police. Crime has always been a problem. And he's right. Crime was number one. It was the number one story. And then the Democrats shut down the government. And all of a sudden, their bad leaders were off of television. Well, their bad governors and mayors were off of television, replaced by their bad minority leaders in the House and Senate. And that's what they loved about it. They loved that nobody was talking about Portland and Chicago and DC and all of these other strongholds where crime just ran rampant. Now that the shutdown's over, now that we're going to get back to work, now that the holiday season is coming up, you're going to start hearing about crime again. Because crime's not, it's getting better, but you're going to start hearing about crime again. You're going to start hearing about ICE again. You're going to start hearing about all these lunatics who are doing terrible, horrible, no good, very bad things because they love the criminals more than they love the law-abiding citizens of the United States of America. Here's John Barrasso.
The end of the government shutdown is finally in sight. Remember, this all started with Democrat blackmail. Republicans kept voting to open the government with no strings attached. The Democrats continued to vote to keep the government closed unless we paid ransom. And as a result, there was massive suffering across the country, people waiting for nutrition, the airlines backed up, people working, 6 weeks without receiving pay. And Chuck Schumer continued to change what he was demanding. On Friday, he demanded billions and billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars being sent directly to insurance companies to bail out Obamacare. Like Republicans have said, we're willing to talk about all of these things, but not while the government is closed. And it looks like today we're on the path because 8 Democrats joined 52 Republicans, and we have the 60 to move forward in this next step to open the government.
Yeah, there we go. Look at that. We have the votes we need. We can move forward in the next steps to open up the government, and that is the really good news. Now, Donald Trump, like I said, he did an extended interview yesterday with Laura Ingraham, which I thought was pretty good. A lot of people say that she went after him about this 50-year mortgage thing, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But there's something else he mentioned too about the tariffs, and that's another big battle that he's been fighting. And when you think about it, Donald Trump, it's amazing to be president and to have when you do more, you have to fight more. That's the thing. It seems like everyone's always against Donald Trump. The media's against him. The Democrats are against him. The Senate's against him. The Supreme Court's against him. The tariffs, everything. It's because when you do more, you open up yourself for more confrontation. You open yourself up to more battles. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do more. It's just to be expected. And when Donald Trump, this guy has a press conference every single day, sometimes multiple press conferences in a single day. Donald Trump is the kind of guy who will do 22 things in a week and he'll get attacked for 20 of them. And then the one thing he does really well and everyone's really excited. But one of the things he said, one of the battles he's having is with this Supreme Court decision, which hasn't come down yet, but which people are saying may lean toward him losing the power to tariff. And the tariffs, he's saying, are amazing. The tariffs are important not just for our economic growth, but because they're a national security tool. And so with the tariffs as a national security tool, with the tariffs as something important for the economy, President Donald Trump is doing everything he can to try to keep the Supreme Court from nuking his tariff ability, because he believes it's good for the country. Here's what he said over the weekend regarding what happens to the tariff revenue and American citizens.
We're going to issue a dividend to our middle-income people and lower-income people of about $2,000, and we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country.
Yeah, Donald Trump saying, look, we have tariffs and we have investments, and the tariffs led to the investments because the people said, we'll invest money in your country, just don't tariff us. And Donald Trump said, okay. If you take that ability away, well, the investments may disappear. And Donald Trump saying, we, number one, are going to share this money with American people. We're going to share $2,000 checks with our middle income or our middle class and our lower middle class people. And if you take that away, if you take away the ability for me to tariff and get these investments, then you're taking $2,000 out of the checkbooks or out of the bank accounts of all of these millions of Americans. And then whatever's left, we're going to use to pay down the debt. And those seem like really great things. Paying Americans a dividend and paying down the national debt. Who wouldn't want that? Well, the Supreme Court, while they're deciding on what to do with these tariffs, I think President Donald Trump is throwing those out there so that the Supreme Court, and who knows, maybe will hear those things and say, you know what? Maybe this isn't unconstitutional. Maybe Donald Trump does have the power to do good with tariffs, and maybe it would be beneficial for the president to be able to have that power, but only time will tell. Hey, speaking of time, it's almost time for our charity poker tournament, the Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, which of all the charity poker tournaments is my favorite because it's mine. And it's for our K's Kids celebrations, for our K's Kids charity. Every year at Christmas time, we have a whole bunch of K-Trids from all over the country. We have people come from Minnesota and Oklahoma, and like I said, all parts in between. And they compete in our Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament. This year, it's Thursday, December the 4th, 2025. And the grand prize, per usual, is $1,000 cash. $1,000 cash. We've got prizes for second and third place as well, $500, $250. We've got an open bar. Well, we don't have an open bar, but we give you drink tickets, so it's like an open bar. We have a free buffet, lovely dinner buffet, and prizes galore. Cash prizes like you wouldn't believe. And it's all coming up December 4th here in Jacksonville, Florida at Best Bet on Monument Road. If you've been to a Ho Ho Hold'em tournament before, you know how amazing it is. And you know how fun it is to make it part of your Christmas and holiday tradition. If you've never been before, this is the year to come because we're going to have so much fun. We deck the place, we deck the halls in boughs of holly. We make it really exciting. We turn this into a super tournament style atmosphere, and we have people, like I said, from all over come and compete for the grand prize. Plus, there's beer hands and wine hands and all kinds of free prizes to give away courtesy of Best Bet and some of our amazing sponsors. Now, the other great thing about this is that each and every dollar that we make goes to help our K's Kids charity, where we help the dreams come true of all kinds of kids who are suffering from the worst life-threatening illnesses you could imagine, and we do it to give them a little holiday wish, whatever's going to make them smile this holiday season. We use the money to grant their one dream and help them enjoy Christmas the way kids should enjoy it. Now, if you're interested in attending, we would love to play poker with you. You can get a VIK ticket where you sit at my very important K-Triot table and play poker with me, Mark K, among others. You can get a regular ticket and sit at a table and try to compete for that $1,000 prize. You can get a whole table and save a little bit of scratch. If you get some friends together, if you buy one for your company, you get 2 tickets for free, which is awesome. We also have some spectator seats. If you're interested, www.kskids.com is where to go. www.kskids.com. Get your ticket today because, like I said, they are going to sell out, and December 4th is right around the corner. We don't want you missing all the fun. I know with Thanksgiving and everything, it gets really tricky, but get this ticket off your plate so you can fill your plate with turkey and pie and stuffing and all that other great stuff. All right, so let's get back to what else is because there's other stuff going on in the world. I know it's kind of weird. Oh, Rand Paul. I don't know. I don't have that. Rand Paul and hemp. Rand Paul was immediately attacked yesterday after this entire vote, or after this deal was made, because Rand Paul scoured through the wording and he found a hemp provision. And Rand Paul was very angry about the hemp provision, and he said it would wipe out 100% of legal hemp products, many of which are made in Kentucky, where he is, of course, he's the junior senator for now, but soon to be the senior senator from Kentucky. Listen to his objection here.
Instead of a clean CR, this bill contains language that has been airdropped in that will destroy hemp farming in Kentucky and across the United States. Tucked away on page 163, Title 7, Division B of this spending package is a provision that will shut down the hemp industry across the United States. My amendment would strip the provision designed to regulate the hemp industry to death. The bill, as it now stands, overrides the regulatory frameworks of several states, cancels the collective decisions of hemp consumers, and destroys the livelihoods of hemp farmers. And it couldn't come at a worse time for America's farmers. Times are tough for our farmers. Farmers' costs have increased as the price of fertilizer and machinery have jumped, while prices for their crops like soybean, corn, and wheat have declined.
Okay, so Rand Paul is saying, look, this hemp provision, which was thrown in there, destroys 100% of hemp farmers. And I don't know a lot about hemp. I'm going to be honest with you, but I do know that I think it was unfairly characterized as legalized marijuana. Rand Paul says, no, hemp is totally different. It's used for ropes. It's used in CBD. It's used for all kinds of other things. It's used for bandages. It's used for consumer goods. Hemp is more of a textile product than it is a recreational drug product. At least that's my understanding. However, the fact that it was dropped in there, it leads one to take a look at it and say, well, wait a minute, why was it dropped in there? What is happening? And Rand Paul, of course, is not going to let anything go by. He's probably the only one left in the Senate who reads all this stuff. But he said this hemp provision has got to come out, or else we're going to have. Or I guess what, he's not going to vote for it. I mean, it doesn't matter. But it does shed a light on one of the things that popped in. Mike Johnson said, however, in the House, he fully expects it to pass as is.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very thankful to see you all this morning. I'm thankful to welcome you to what appears to be the beginning of the end of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
Yeah, I hate that because it's good. I hate when it's only in one channel. I don't know why that happens. I don't know why anyone records anything in one channel. It just doesn't make, especially when it's just someone talking. It definitely doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, Donald Trump was asked about this hemp provision. And I want to see, I had that earlier. Let me see if I can find it for you. And here's what he said about the hemp provision that Rand Paul is trying to strip out of this bill. Where somebody asked him about it. Some uppity reporter asked him about it. Let me go. No, I don't. I had it, but I don't think I have it anymore. But anyway, that's one of the sticking points. That's one of the things that at the moment is interesting about this new clean CR that the Republicans are voting on. Let's go back then to travel. So Donald Trump was asked about airline travel because airline travel is very important. We are heading into Thanksgiving weekend, the busiest travel season of the entire year. And this government shutdown means that hopefully by the end of the week, all of the air traffic controllers will be back on the payroll. They will get their back pay and they will be back at work, which is great because there have been problems at the airports. I will say this. I myself flew to New York City over the weekend. And while the flight there had no issues, no delays, no problems. In fact, I think we got there a little early. The flight back was a totally different story. Yesterday, our flight leaving New York's LaGuardia Airport to Jacksonville, Florida, home of Mar-a-Lago, was delayed by about 2 hours because of a delay from the incoming flight. Once we got on the plane, we were then left on the tarmac for about another 45 minutes to an hour until we were able to take off due to the backlog of jets looking to take off. But what was most shocking, disturbing, and slightly scary was when we were landing in Jacksonville yesterday, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the pilots came down, lowering the jet toward the runway, as is typical during a landing. We saw the horizon getting closer and closer through the windows, and the back wheels of the plane hit the runway, and then immediately the plane began to ascend back into the air, meaning they aborted the landing. And we all kind of sat there for a minute. My daughter looked at me like, what's going on? My wife looked at me like, what's going on? People were kind of looking around the cabin. We went right back up into the air. The wheels hit, bam, and then we took right back off. And my wife's asking me what's happening. My daughter's saying, what's going on? I don't know. Maybe Maybe we were coming in too fast. Maybe they overshot the runway, maybe something like that. But then it occurred to us all that with the government shutdown and with the I guess you would say, lack of trained air traffic controllers, with an air traffic controller shortage, or with disgruntled air traffic controllers who are overworked and not paid at all, perhaps there was some kind of mishap on the runway. Perhaps there was a plane in our path and our pilots had to think quickly so as not to hit it upon landing. Once we got back up in the air, they came over the loudspeaker and they said, "This is your captain. Sorry about that. We were coming in for a landing and we saw something we didn't like, so we decided to make another pass." Now, if you say you saw something we didn't like, that to me leads me to believe that you saw another plane on the runway or landing on the runway or in the runway some way, shape, or form that could have been a hazard to all of us. So you aborted and took back off into the sky. Now, I will never know the truth. We'll never know the truth. We'll never know how close we came to dying in a fiery crash. But I'll be honest with you, I've been flying for 40 years, and I've never, ever, ever experienced a last-minute aborted landing like that. And like I said, at first it could have been they were too fast. It could have been that they overshot the runway a little bit, that they didn't have enough room to land. But really, the way that they came down and popped right back up leads me to believe that they saw something in the runway, another plane perhaps, or something that was keeping us from safely landing. And so we circled back around, and then we eventually landed. And then we got off the plane, and when we said we're not flying again till next year. We're not flying again the rest of the year. No more flights for the K fam. We're staying right where we are. But travel now hopefully will get back to normal because the shutdown is over. And as President Donald Trump said, he actually believes travel will get even better.
Can you guarantee to Americans that travel is going to go back to normal once the government...
That travel is? Oh, yeah. It'll go better than normal. You know why?
When the government reopens...
Yeah, sure. It'll be much better than normal because we're buying the most sophisticated avionics and, technology for our control towers. And we didn't have that. We had a guy named Buttigieg. Edge, this is the best way. Just say two edges, like off the edge of a cliff, which is where they were taking us, by the way. Edge was the Secretary of Transportation, and he spent billions of dollars trying to patch together our air traffic control system, which was a conglomeration of all different systems in all different cities. They had hundreds of companies working on it, and they were spending billions of dollars. And when they turned it on, it didn't work. It didn't even work a little bit. That's why you had a helicopter crashing into an airplane, that if we had a great system, bells and whistles would have started going off. So we are now in the process. We're in final bids of getting the finest system anywhere in the world. I've analyzed it. Sean Duffy has been working really hard on it, doing a fantastic job, by the way. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be handing out the finest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. All the towers will be equipped. They were going copper wire into glass wire.
Yeah, copper wire, glass wire doesn't work. You copper, aluminum. It's got to be copper to copper. Copper. That's all we want in this country. You can't go copper to glass. You can't go copper to aluminum. It's just horrendous. And that's what President Donald Trump said. He said, "Look, we are going to have the greatest air traffic control system in the world. Now that this shutdown's all over, and now that we're not going to have to go through it again at least until late January, we're going to see some things that really are truly great, and we are going to update our transportation system. We're going to update the air traffic control system, and we are going to make it the greatest in the world." We have a very safe atmosphere here. We have a lot of flights in the United States of America, I think more so than any other country. We have huge airports, some of the largest in the world, some of the busiest in the world, and they do a very good job of keeping the flights safe, keeping people safe. I won't say on time because especially this past weekend, it was a little tumultuous, but they keep the people safe, and that's the number one thing you want. But there are so many great systems out there that could keep us safer. And when you look at some of these other countries that are far more advanced when it comes to air traffic control, if we were able to utilize those systems, forget about it. There'd be no more delays. There'd be no more cancellations. It would be There'd be no more hacks that keep us. Do you remember last Thanksgiving how it was just utter mayhem because the whole system went down and Delta was canceling flights left, right, and center? It was nuts. And Pete Buttigieg, was blaming everybody but the federal government. Hopefully in the future, we won't experience any more of that ever because of what Donald Trump and the Republican Party and Sean Duffy and everyone else is doing. And that is taking care of beeswax. They're taking care of business and they're making sure that Americans are safe. And that's something, that we can all be thankful for. There was one last thing he talked about with Laura Ingraham. He always goes back to the one big beautiful bill, which again is his trademark legislation. And what you're starting to see with the government shutdown and everything else is the Democrats, they didn't want the one big beautiful bill. Some Republicans didn't want the one big beautiful bill either. Donald Trump got the one big beautiful bill. And now everything that happens is in a way based on that massive success, that massive piece of legislation, that signature deal that Donald Trump put together. That is the reason why you have so many people now who are trying to undo what was done in the one big beautiful bill. And this government shutdown where they were trying to claw back the money for healthcare for illegal aliens, claw back some of the jobs that were permanently destroyed. It's them trying to undo Donald Trump's signature piece of legislation. And they're doing it in any way, shape, or form that they can. Now, again, not that it was bad legislation, not that it was great legislation. It was Donald Trump's legislation. And these people, as he pointed out earlier, they suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. All they want to do, all these people want to do is destroy Donald Trump. And they don't care if something's good. They don't care if something's bad. They just care, did Donald Trump do it? If so, we've got to undo it. It's the exact same thing that Joe Biden did. Joe Biden on his first day in office, or somebody who was in charge of Joe Biden that day, on his first day in office, undid every single one of Donald Trump's executive orders, even the good ones, even the ones that kept Americans safe, even the ones that protected us at the border, all of them, just undid them all arbitrarily because he didn't like them. He didn't like Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump did it, it had to be bad. What happened was we had 25 million illegal immigrants come into this country. Many of them were thugs and gang members and rapists and murderers and drug dealers and human traffickers. And we had to spend the last 10 months getting rid of all of them. And there's still a whole bunch left. It's really when your sole purpose in life is just to battle against one individual, no matter what, not even vetting whether or not what they do is good or bad for people. It really does make things really difficult for the rest of us. And that's why the Democrat Party has such problems, because they've forgotten that their job is not to go against President Donald Trump. Their job is to represent the people who elected them. And the people who elected them don't want to die at the hand of a criminal drug dealer from Colombia or Venezuela. They don't want their kids accidentally taking fentanyl at a party. They don't want any of that. They want to live very quietly and peacefully in a safe environment. They want to build their businesses and go to work and take vacations and live the American dream. They don't want to have to worry about crime every time they walk out their door. But the Democrats think if Donald Trump is the law and order president, then we're going to be the crime and punishment president. If Donald Trump is the law and order president, if he's for law-abiding citizens and the police and ICE, we're going to be against the police and we're going to be against ICE. And we see it so much so that in New York City, Zoran Mamdani just became the anti-police, anti-law and order, anti-ICE, anti-everything establishment candidate to become mayor. And he is, I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I went to New York when I did because it was still fairly okay. In fact, I'll be honest, I don't know if it was Eric Adams or whatnot, but there was a time I went to New York just before COVID. I think it was the last time I was there in 2020. Like literally, right? It was February of 2020, right before everything shut down. And I was already starting to see some things I didn't like. You had the pot trucks on every corner in Times Square. There was a lot of homelessness and there were a lot of drug addicts on the streets. There was a lot of, it was not the city that I remembered growing up. I mean, Rudy Giuliani was my mayor when I went to NYU. When I went to NYU and lived in New York City for a couple of years afterward, it was the highlight. It was the Giuliani years. And man, everything was awesome, to quote the Lego movie. Everything was amazing. It was beautiful. It was safe. It was clean. It was really an incredible time to be there. And then pretty soon, I guess Mayor Bloomberg did okay, but it started to fall by the wayside, and de Blasio was just horrible. But I went back this time and it was a little bit better than it was in 2020. However, I don't think I'm going to go again. I don't think I'm going to go back there anytime soon unless it's like for work, unless there's some mandatory unless the Republicans have if the Republicans have some kind of, if that's where Donald Trump decides we're going to have the Republican National Convention in 2026, then I guess I'll go, but not by choice, because what's going to happen with this mayor and what he's already talking about and the things that he's saying, I think it's no good for anybody in that city. And I could sense a little bit of stress by some of the people that were there. I didn't talk to a lot of them, but the ones that I talked to, I could sense there was still a little bit of disbelief. There was still a little bit of a, how the heck did this happen? And there was a little bit of buyer's remorse, even though this guy hasn't even taken the oath of office. It's really shocking. Anyway, that's luckily I don't ever go to any of the class reunions. I don't think I've been invited to any of the class reunion. That's one of the reasons why I don't go. Hey, speaking of class reunions, tonight we are doing something which is really, really incredible. This is a brand new masterclass that we put together for people who already have podcasts. If you're a podcaster, I know we have a lot of podcasters who listen to this show, or if you have a YouTube channel, or if you're an influencer in any way, shape, or form. This is really cool. This is something called Podcast Profits VIP. I'm going to pause me here so you're not looking at two of me. But it's Podcast Profits VIP. It's a VIP masterclass where I go through all my secrets for creating cash flow from the content that we create every single day. I wish I could tell you I do this because I love it. I do it because I love it, but it's also my job. And luckily, I have a job that I love. I have a career where I work for myself and I get to do something that I'm passionate about, and it pays the bills. And a lot of people often ask me, hey, Mark, how does that happen? Well, tonight, I have a VIP masterclass called Podcast Profits VIP, and you can still get tickets. Now, this isn't like our past masterclasses that were free of charge. This is actual actionable information. You can read through everything that you're going to learn in this masterclass. You can look at the breakdown of how we do it. There's live Q&A. So if you have a specific question about podcasting or content creation or monetizing it, if you have a specific hurdle that you're trying to overcome and you haven't quite figured it out and you want to ask somebody who does this professionally, this is your opportunity, because tonight I'll be teaching the masterclass and then I'll be opening it up for live one-on-one Q&A. And you're welcome to attend. There is a minimal fee. It's $97 for the class. There is a 10 times better than money back guarantee, which means if you don't walk away thinking you got 10 times more value than what you paid for it, then you will get all your money back. So there's really no risk. And this is going to be fun. A little more advanced than some of the other stuff we've done. This is not, hey, I want to start a podcast from scratch. This is, hey, I already have a podcast, or hey, I already started posting on YouTube, or hey, I have a pretty cool Facebook page and I'd like to learn how to make money from all of those things. Then this is for you. Go to podcastprofitspro.com/VIP. Podcastprofitspro.com/VIP. It happens tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, also included in the ticket price is the replay. So if you come tonight and you watch it, you'll also get the replay. If you buy your ticket and something comes up and you're not able to make it, doesn't matter. You'll still get the replay. So you'll be able to have that asset to reflect back on over and over again. Podcastprofitspro.com/VIP. There's also a link in the show notes or in the description of this video. So you can go to the website, you can read all about it. You can see some of our successful students in the past. You could learn about what we're going to do. You can see the syllabus for tonight's opportunity, and you can learn a little bit more. I'm really excited about it. Then, of course, click the big blue button, get your ticket, join us tonight for the masterclass, Podcast Profits Pro VIP, tonight at 7 p.m. Click the link in the description of the video. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that it's a crazy day, what with Veterans Day, what with everything else going on, what with us having a travel day yesterday, but we're here all week. We're here all week because we need to keep bringing you the information you need to know. We need to keep informing you as to what's happening, who's attacking you, who's coming after you, who's on your side, who's not on your side. We need to make sure you're totally informed so that if you ever get attacked, you can battle back. We want to make sure that you're getting everything you need to be a conscientious, conservative constitutionalist so that you can be a fully armed warrior for conservatism in the Republican Party so that you can always win the battles, and there will be more battles to come. Don't think because the shutdown's over that the Democrats are going away. You've seen how deranged they are. You see how they're going after their own. They're going to take somebody who's not Chuck Schumer. They're going to get rid of Chuck Schumer and bring in somebody who's even worse, even more radical, even more disturbed and deranged, somebody who hates Trump even more. They'll probably get rid of Hakeem Jeffries too. And they're going to replace them with the worst of the worst. It's not going to get better, folks. It's going to get worse. And that's why you need to subscribe to this channel right now so that we can keep you totally entertained, totally informed, totally inspired, enlightened, and of course, prepared for any battle that ensues. And they will ensue. And you and me and every patriot across the globe, we will continue to fight, fight, fight. And we will win, win, win. So we can save the Republic. We are going to have, by the way, a brief Patriot Club meeting. If you're a member of the Patriot Club, this is great. If you're not a member of the Patriot Club, you can join at patriots.com. We're going to get together for an extended edition of Mark K Saves the Republic, another 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how it goes. If you have any questions or you want to come hang out with us, patriots.com is where you go. Patriots.com to join the Patriot Club and be part of our after party, which begins in like 5 minutes.